This is SWBC Mortgage's Dallas.
Hey, Cowboys fans. Keith Davis here.
Invest like your icons with blockchain.com. The National Medal of Honor Museum. Discover the National Medal of Honor Museum and witness real people, real stories, and real courage. All Tech Lansing. Just listen with All Tech Lansing, perfecting sound since 1927. And by SWBC Mortgage. Customized solutions to help you meet your personal and business goals. Visit SWBC.com. Now, your hosts, Nate Newton and Bobby Belt.
Happy Wednesday, everyone. Welcome to Cowboys Crosstalk, live on the Dallas Cowboys Radio Network, DallasCowboys.com, and all other associated social media platforms.
Hello, you got me?
We are live from the Cowboys Club, the Star in Frisco. I'm Bobby Belt from 105.3 The Fan. Tonight, I'm joined by Alec Medford, my teammate from 105.3 The Fan. As always, we've got the three-time Super Bowl champ and six-time Pro Bowler Nate Newton with us. And our special Cowboys alumni guest this evening was a 5-year veteran here with the Dallas Cowboys. He was an All-American at the University of Montana. We are joined tonight.
Wow.
And also master drummer of Free Reign. We've got Cory Procter with us here tonight. Cory, thank you so much for joining us.
Come on, thanks for having me. This is great.
Absolutely.
Rain, man. I forgot about Free Reign.
Hey, that was it back in the day.
Wow.
Leonard Davis, Mark Colombo, they had it set up there. Now, obviously, we got this is our first time being on the air since last Wednesday, which was a couple hours after we left the air. There was a just awful tragedy that hit the Dallas Cowboys with the passing of Marshawn Kneeland, their second-round pick from last year. And there's no easy way to talk about it, I don't think. Brian Schottenheimer got a chance to talk to the media for the first time today and really, I think, showed why it is that he is such a powerful presence for this football team. And Nate, everything we've talked about the last couple months of everything he's doing to build family and build culture and really, you know, hey, if I'm gonna go to war with you, I gotta know the man next to me and those sort of things. I think that really came through for them this week, where his staff was a very powerful presence for a lot of guys who felt really just kind of in a position that a lot of them hadn't been in before. But just kind of before we get into some of the football stuff, I wanted to just take a moment and kind of talk about the difficult week that it's clearly been for the Cowboys family here. And Nate, something that has obviously been really difficult around the hallways to lose such a young man who was so well liked by everybody in that locker room.
Yeah, you know, we had Mark Tuanay pass away when I played. And I don't know if, Cory, you had anybody that had a tragedy like that while you played. But I tell people like this right here. I'm a different being than most people. You know, I will pray for him and his family. I will pray for him that he knew Christ as his Lord and Savior before he left here. But I will also tell everybody the best way you can help him is, you know, connect a little bit with the family if that's a possibility. You know what I'm saying? If you had that relationship, keep it in its context. And the best way you can show him how you feel is, like I say, keep with his family and do the best you can as you know, for these sports, for the thing that connected you, and that's football. So be the best you can be, you know, and remembrance of him. And that's how I attacked it with Mark Tuanay. Just remember him every game. Say, hey, brother, because he played left tackle to me for like 6-7 years. So, you know, I had a connection there with him and his wife. So that's how I always, you know, started my games. Sometimes say, hey, Mark, remember you, man. Boom, and just keep playing. Cory, how did you work that, man?
Man, so I didn't have anybody that passed when I played.
Right.
But, you know, I had guys that passed. Marion Barber,
yes,
right?
Right.
Tony Sperano was my old coach.
Oh, yes, sir. Oh, yes, sir.
And so, you know, when he passed, you know, then we could, you know, I texted Jeanette, his wife, and it doesn't have to be much.
That's right.
So, like, all of us are kind of in this, like, what do we do? And like, something I got from one of my old mentors was like, shoot one text. You don't have to respond. I just want you to know that I'm praying for you. I love you. And Coach was everything. He was awesome to me, and I loved him so much for being in my life. And so, like, you don't have to say more than that, but those, and a lot of times they won't respond, but man, you get, I don't know, tens, hundreds of texts like that, thousands potentially, but you're reading through those for the next week or more,
Yes.
those impact people so much. And so, especially even then, I love that with Tuane's.
Yeah.
Man, you like, I message his brother maybe,
Right.
and like that stuff carries miles and miles of impact on somebody's life that carries through them hard times. So, pray for his girlfriend and his family right now. But
Yes.
that stuff is heavy.
Yeah, and we got the Cowboys made the announcement today. They have started a fund to help support his girlfriend Catalina, who is expecting, and create a fund so that they'll be set for life. So the Cowboys have worked to set that up. It's MarshawnKneelandFund.org. So if you want to donate and help out with that, I know a number of the Cowboys are in there, and Coach Schottenheimer said today that the big thing there that they're looking for is they want to make sure that they're set for life and that they don't have to worry about anything anymore. And, this is, like I said, there's no easy way to talk about it. And we'll just spend the first little bit here in the segment, and then we'll pivot over to some football after the first break here. But I think one of the things that's important because, Marshawn Kneeland had dealt with a lot throughout his college career. He dealt with the loss of his mother right before entering the NFL draft. And dealt with a lot of demons that he didn't ask for, and that a lot of people around the NFL knew he was dealing with. In fact, when he was coming out of college, he was somebody who I think NFL teams respected how much he attacked it head on and knew he had some things that he needed to deal with and work through. And one of the things we said on 105 through the Fan this week that I think just bears repeating is, Marshawn Kneeland, those who get through those sort of moments that Marshawn Kneeland didn't get through last week or that other people don't get through, I don't think it means that they're any tougher or, mentally stronger or anything like that. A lot of times what gets them through those moments are circumstance or timing or luck or something that you were just talking about, Nate, something much more divine that people can't understand and couldn't possibly begin to explain, but it's a tragedy for a lot of people in that Cowboys locker room, and something that I think that, again, I'm grateful that Brian Schottenheimer was the head coach of the Dallas Cowboys this week, and I'm grateful that Connor Riley's there, or Aaron Whitecotton's there, the defensive line coach, or Nick Sorensen, the special teams coach, because those are guys who have routinely poured into the lives of these individuals all the way back in the spring, and have connected with them on a level where they have the cachet to be able to pick up the phone and talk to them and be there for them in a way this week that, not to compare it to any other coaching staffs at all. I'm sure there are other coaching staffs that would have handled it really great, but I think that this coaching staff had a unique sort of connection to be able to have that. So we're going to take our first break a little early tonight. I did just want to touch on that, and before we just pivot over immediately to football, we'll go ahead and take our first break early this evening, but wanted to talk about Marshawn Kneeland and what a tough week it's been for the Cowboys as they prepare to go to Las Vegas to take on the Raiders. When we come back, we are going to talk football. We're going to talk about the Raiders. We're going to talk about where the Cowboys are at the halfway point and what they have to look forward to here. This is the Cowboys Crosstalk here on the Dallas Cowboys Radio Network.
Back to SWBC Mortgage's Dallas Cowboys Crosstalk.
Yeah, check this out.
Broadcasting live from the Cowboys Club at the Star in Frisco.
At SWBC, customized solutions for individuals and businesses are just a click away. Visit swbc.com to learn more and start your next adventure. Welcome back to the Cowboys Club, Star in Frisco, for the SWBC Cowboys Crosstalk. We're coming to you live on the Dallas Cowboys Radio Network, DallasCowboys.com, and all other associated social media platforms. I'm Bobby Belt from 105.3 The Fan in Dallas. That is the radio flagship home of your Dallas Cowboys. Tonight I've got my 105.3 The Fan teammate, Alec Medford, here with me. We've got the 3-time Super Bowl champ, 6-time Pro Bowler, Nate Newton here, and our special Cowboys alumni this evening is Cory Procter. And Cory, before we kind of get into anything else, I know we were just talking a little bit during the break. You entered a very interesting career field that I don't think people just normally go like, oh yeah, this is where the football player is going to go after his career. So just talk a little bit about the work that you're doing now and maybe a little bit of how you still remain connected to the Cowboys a little bit.
Sure. Yeah. No, I own a business in Southlake, Texas, Pro Capital Wealth Management, and we do financial planning for entrepreneurs. And I basically, I wanted to go work with the people who are like me, and so we do people that are running their business, and I kind of equate it to you wouldn't take advice from parenting advice from somebody who didn't have kids.
Yes.
So why would you take financial advice from somebody who's not an entrepreneur?
That's right.
And so because we look at the world different, right? Just like players, we look at the world different, and where we don't do traditional retirement, we don't do traditional stuff, but I'm looking to help grow the business. We're looking for train wrecks. It's based on my story. I got sued in high school from a car accident that I got into. My junior year, I rear-ended a lady. She filed a lawsuit, and a year later, my mom and stepdad filed for bankruptcy, lost the house and the vehicles. And so when I came into the league, I didn't want that happening to me. And so, we have every money guy in the world coming after us.
That's right.
Which I don't have. I have 2 players on my roster. That's it.
Right.
That's for good reason. And just because a lot of guys are train wrecks. But basically, the entrepreneurs that have built something special and awesome, they've gone amazing. And you'd be surprised at the 100 million plus people who have done zero planning whatsoever. They're just excellent at what they do. And we're coming in basically looking for where this thing could get destroyed.
Yes.
So I give an examples. We have a couple really great oil and gas people, but a couple came in earlier this year, came on board as a client, and they had 5 rental properties all in their personal name. That's a major liability. So if a renter slips and falls and breaks their leg and wants to sue, kiss all 5 rental properties goodbye and the $8 million in the brokerage account.
Wow.
So those are things where traditional money managers, they don't do those things. So we want to come in and make sure that asset protection is there.
Yes.
Estate planning is there. And so that's been a real huge value prop for us. Plus the entrepreneurship. We have guys that will liquidate a property like that and sell it for $800,000, $1 million. And they're like, should I put it in my account? And I'm like, you just started a new business. Let's go hire people first. And because you don't need to be doing all these things. Because I know the business, that $800,000 in that hands will turn into $8 million most likely, and we'll have more to manage in the end.
At what point did you know? Was it in college when you knew, okay, this is kind of my long-term view, or was when you were playing? When did it really become a passion project for you?
It was my own. So, I didn't want it to happen to myself. And so all these guys that I would sit across the kitchen table with, they all wanted to manage my money, and I know everybody who's had anything, or even the impression that you may have money, people come out of the woodwork. And so it was always this slimy, I can help you, trust me attitude, right? And I'm like, trust you? I don't even know you, man. And so I ended Marco Rivera, if you remember him, he hooked me up with a lady out of Wisconsin, and she made me good money. I just wanted to add more to the fold. And so essentially it became our mantra with Standing Guard Building Legacy. So I aim to put my life in a vault where somebody couldn't attack me.
Yes.
And that became the value prop. And so I when I came into the league, I just made it a commitment to learn everything about my money that I could, which it was very stupid questions at first, which eventually led to a whole lot smarter questions, right? I just wasn't afraid to ask them. And so now, we're 15 years removed from the league, and we're stronger financially than we've ever been. in our life. And I made minimum 5 out of my 6 years playing. So as opposed to the opposite, where I have guys that had awesome contracts, way bigger than I ever did on my single-year deals, that are searching for their identity still and have no money in the bank. Meanwhile, we're doing pretty solid, and we have a business that's growing. We have 3 of our team members here tonight that are represented at Pro Capital. So it became a super big passion project of mine that ultimately was part of my faith. That God kind of had to show me why I behaved the way I did with my money. And he was basically, go do that for other people. That was it. So I go, okay. And that ended up being the deal. Let's hang out with, and I like the entrepreneurs because I learned so much more from those people than just trying to give blanket advice, because what you're doing in your business is different from me. So I'm interested now, and we're having a different conversation.
Right.
And I'll try that stuff in mine. And it may work, it may not. But I tell you what, my business has scaled so much from when I first started this thing, simply because I've gone to people that have been smarter than me, more experienced than me, or I'm willing to try things across industries. And that's been amazing. So as it ties into the Cowboys, Brian Wansley, our player development guy, he's brought me in for the last 7 years to share my story with the rookies. And so he gets to see all the bad stuff. Like he gets all the guys that are calling the facility, I got no money for rent, who I've blown through everything, need some help. And he's trying to give examples of guys that have done some good things, pass ball, that I was too mature at that point. But that a lot of these guys, like I mentioned earlier, Booker, he was front and center in the meeting room asking questions. How can I get started on, like, where do we start on trying to find, because he was talking about broadcasting. Yeah. And I'm like, dude, you got guys in-house that you need to be talking to. You need to talk to Nate. You can talk to Isaiah. You can talk to Marcus. He's doing his thing right now.
Yeah.
All the guys that I played with, right? And these are great guys, former players to go talk to and get started right now on that. And so, I love those guys that are hungry. And so that's how I've been keeping in contact with the Cowboys. And it's been really cool. So they saw value after I was done playing, which a lot of us, right, we get jaded.
Yes.
They're like, the league doesn't want me anymore. And I'm like, I get it. I went through that.
Right.
But if you start bringing value to a different place and start getting good at your craft, other people will take notice of that.
That's right.
You mentioned guys trying to find their identity while they're in the league. What do you think you learned about yourself when you were playing that kind of catapulted you into this success? Because you mentioned that you asked a lot of questions and there was a lot of things you had to learn coming out of high school into college, into the league. What do you think you learned about yourself that really helped you in your past football life to get yourself to this point now?
I'll tell you, man, I was really surprised. I don't know about you guys, but like when I stopped playing, I realized the bar was so low in the normal world. I'm like, are you kidding me? I hung out with Bill Parcells, right? This guy, remember when Wade Phillips took off the chains off the leash, right? And we went 13-3 that year and had an amazing season. But like Bill Parcells, if you weren't on time, where you were supposed to be, when you were supposed to be, they're giving 100% effort at all things while you were hurt. Like I had a sprained back in training camp coming in. I mean, barely could walk. There's no way I could play, I'm thinking. But if I don't, I'm getting cut. Right. So I found that the bar that I had for myself from a lot of the conditioning from my coaches that I was around set me up for success outside of the league. And if I could get through the transition time, which that's the lonely time, that's the hard time. If you can get through the transition time and find that next niche you can get involved in, if you just apply the same attributes to that, you'll do well. And that's what I took was, I've always been a speed guy, not like I've been fast, okay? My 40 time was not that. But like I'm speed to get it done. So like coach told me to be there on time, I'm going to be there early. I'm going to get there, be ready to roll. And if you tell me to execute something, it's going to be done now. And I can't wait on it. And so that's been a huge thing, even in the business where communication is the number one complaint across financial institutions. The guys don't communicate with clients, or they're non-existent. So, when somebody walks out of our office and Mackenzie or Meredith, our ops and admin, have an email in your inbox by the time you get home with all of our actionables complete, that's pretty attractive. And so that alone has been a huge speed of action just to get things done.
So, and we're talking with Cory Procter here on Cowboys Crosstalk. So, I feel like the shining example in professional sports of like it can go away that quick was a basketball player back in the day named Antoine Walker. And Antoine Walker, they talked about how he had $100 million, and a couple years out of the league, it was all gone. So when we hear stories like that, is that like when you hear something like that, do you go, I see how that can happen? Like, I know just by what happens to athletes, I know how you can lose $100 million like that. Or is that like an extreme case? Are there things of like, hey, if you're a professional athlete, you do have to guard against, there are people who can lose your money that quickly.
Oh, yeah. Well, the number one problem when it comes to anybody, and I mean, this is biblical, this is scripture, like wealth gained in haste is lost in haste. And so same thing happens if somebody, and I see this with like if somebody's inherited a lot of money or came into a big lawsuit payment or something, if it's quick to fall on you, you haven't built up basically any sort of, like the word I'm looking for, any sort of experience to build it, it's that much easier to lose. Now, there's good guys that I've talked to or people that I've talked to that they're like, man, it was like me. I didn't want to screw up. I don't want to screw this thing up. So they have a healthy fear. But, dude, $100 million can get blown in a heartbeat.
Oh,
I've seen it happen. And it blows my mind still, but it can be gone in, I mean, I've seen guys blow several $100,000 in a day.
The thing that's amazing is, guy, you, Bobby, can sit up and say, wow, man, how can that happen? You can get $1 million and you can be gone tomorrow.
Oh, I know I could.
Oh, yeah.
I know I could.
The thing that makes you laugh is you can bring 10 people up here and say, hey, man, I got $1 million for you. And everybody will just go crazy. But if within a month, if they don't touch this brother or somebody with some experience that they respect, it'll be gone.
Yeah.
This 10 out of 10 people, brother.
The Sharks come around.
He's the difference. But he's the difference. It happened to me. It can happen, and when it happened, it's not a good feeling, but you're going to be the blunt end of everybody's joke.
Yeah.
But this guy had an experience as a young man that said this would not happen, and it lodged in his brain, and he, like he said, I don't care how stupid it sounds right now, I know what it's going to be in the end, and you followed through.
It was. I think it was just a healthy fear, right?
Yes.
But, and then I was so hungry to do what you did.
Yeah.
And I tell you, a lot of that came later in my faith. Like, I had good attributes from ball, but it wasn't till my faith really got turned on that I became an insatiable consumer.
Right.
So, like, I read everything. You should see my library, my books. I have so many books. I'm finished writing my book right now, which is cool. But
what's the name of the book?
It's Built, Not Broke.
Okay.
The Vault System.
Right. The Vault. Oh,
the Vault System.
The Vault System. I like that.
It's, but like, all I did was like, man, if you were better than me, there's a reason for that.
Right.
Tell me what you do. And so luckily, right, as a Cowboy, we get invited to like these incredible places like this Cowboys club or somebody's home, which is like, it might be the most amazing home you've ever walked into, right? And so you might walk into a $7 million home and you're like, all I could think about is, what did you do to build this? And I kind of quip at it because there's two type of people that walk into your home, right? One says like, this is incredible, how did you build it? The other one says, must be nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm like, get out of my house. The second you say that, get out. Because that's the person that thinks you got lucky.
Yeah.
You didn't get lucky. No. Somebody had to work for that at some point.
Yeah.
And it's actually, building wealth is pretty systematic and easier than you think it is. It's just how disciplined can you be in that process. And it's really just dampening your own impulses to want to go blow it somewhere. And so, like, but I did that. I would go over to your house and I'd see you in this amazing house, and I'd want that story. And all I did was try to replicate it as much as I could. And so, like, when I got in the business, I knew I could 10X under my own power. Then when I get the right mentor, when I got with a gal, her name was Erin Botsford. She sold her firm and I got a big check for it, and I was like, we need to talk. And I basically copied from her, made it all mine. That took my business to a whole nother level where now I'm making 80 to 120% returns in my business year over year in revenue. And then I ended up getting different partnerships. And so as I started getting some bigger clients, these bigger partnerships started coming in, where now we have an insurance brokerage firm, and now we have these other people that like saw value, and they're way bigger than us, and like, we want to partner officially, and we're gonna make you the official wealth management arm. I'm like, to me, that was like Brian Walmsley seeing what I was doing post league, and he goes, I need you to talk to my guys.
Yeah.
That's where people started seeing value. But all I did was I was taking from your guys' successes and taking the ideas, and you were happy to share it as long as you thought I was worthy to share it with.
I'm curious, Nate, for you, when you got into the league in 1983, was your first year, the time that you played in the league, Cory, your first year in 2005 to what you see now, just talk a little bit about, Nate, what kind of resources were available to you as a player during your days, or how teams made those sort of resources available? Cory, when you got in the league, what they were made available, and what you see teams making available to people 20 years later?
The Cowboys has always been the standard. It is Walmsley Pop was before him.
Larry.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
He's
so
awesome.
It was all the Cowboys have always been a step ahead, and the people of Dallas has always been willing to help. I mean, just you can walk into, like I said, a club of any nature, like similar to this, and meet somebody and form a partnership. It's hard to be in Dallas and be a Dallas Cowboy and not run into these type people. All you got to do is be like my man here. Be bold, be confident, and be worthy. And they'll share it with you, man. I've seen it happen 1,000,000 times. And so it's always been here for the Cowboys.
It's so like a lot of the comments we get out are like, I hope the league's helping you, right?
Yeah.
And so the league gives us resources. We got the NFL Trust and Players Association, and there's some great resources there you can utilize, and I've exhausted them. I am that guy. I'm like, eat it up, right?
Yeah.
But really, the world is what you want to go get, and so that's what I think. The same thing. My experience here, Jerry wants that for you. Steven wants that for you. All the coaches want that for you, but I can't do it for you. And
that's right.
So here we have such an awesome crowd of people just in Texas and Dallas where they've done insanely amazing things. And I'm like, I get to go to some luxury ranches and go shoot, and I'm working. I'm like getting paid for this thing. And I'm like, where am I at right now, But like but if you're the one that like goes and do it, the thing is I'll tell you, there's a natural defensive mechanism that we have as players. Like, what do you want from me? Right?
Right.
I get it. I've been there. I still have that to a degree, and it's a good, healthy thing to do. But there are genuine people that like, what's your plan afterwards? Like your parents. Like, what are you going to do for school? What are you going to do after you're done? And you don't want to think about that as a young player. I get it. Be all in, burn the ships for where you're at right now. But in the off season, when you have so much time available, dude, you should be reading books. If you need to finish school, go back, finish your school. But you need to be doing something to make yourself more productive. And I still have relationships from when I was playing and when I had off-season times that are with me today that, like, they're like, I can't believe what's going on in your life. And I'm like, me neither. But all it was you saw value in me, and I was willing to, like, hear your story and take something from you. And now I have people that come up to me 4 years later. They're like, dude, something as simple as a guy's coaching quarterbacks at my church. That's all he does, coach quarterbacks. And I'm like, what are you doing for your accounting right now? And he's like, what do you mean? And I'm like, dude, you don't do like QuickBooks Self-Employed or something? And he's like, no joke. This happened. This is probably like a month ago. This guy came. He was like, 4 years ago, you told me to get QuickBooks Self-Employed. That changed my life. I'm like, you're not writing off any of these things? What is wrong with you? And so like, but those were all things that I did. I would come back to you, and I'm like, what you taught me changed my business. And how awesome is that for you to give that gift to somebody else who's already done well, to be able to see that you've applied their wisdom. And so all of a sudden, I just bought myself more time with you.
Right.
And that's more mentorship for me because you're still above me. You're building bigger than me. And that's what I've done with my mentors. And that's what I tell with any of these guys, and what the NFL brings you is basically access to people that want to help. Now, there is a slew of garbage that you got to get rid of. Some of them you can't believe that they're still swimming around the Cowboys facility. But But like you get away from them, have a good discernment through that, and even have your people like if you guys are in my circle and I'm talking to these guys, maybe you are a voice, right? But I tell people if they're not where you want to be, take it with a grain of salt, good or bad, right? But if they are with you and they're giving you some advice, you need to take it. And so if I got somebody with a bigger firm or way ahead of me, bigger revenue stream, bigger team, bigger execution, a larger book, that's all I gravitated towards. So I can get wisdom from you somewhere, and I'm going to steal all of it.
And you do it with class.
Yeah.
Remember, what he keeps saying is, if they feel that you're worthy to be invested into.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and a lot of times people like to share, and people with things like to share, but they've seen the cesspool that he's talking about too. Mm-hmm. And it is some people still swimming around these.
Oh my God!
That you be like, you still here?
I'm like, for real?
This is a bad night for my wife to be sitting back there because I'm gonna get a lecture on the way home about. See, I told you you're supposed to be taking advantage of resources. You're supposed to be doing this is just getting me a lecture on the car ride home.
Right.
Let's take our second break here on the SWBC Cowboys Crosstalk. When we come back, let's talk about where the Cowboys are at the halfway point of the season. They got the Raiders coming up, and also get Cory's perspective on some of the things that Brian Schottenheimer's really trying to make a difference on in terms of culture and how much those things can matter in terms of a locker room winning and taking another step. We'll talk about that next on the SWBC Cowboys Crosstalk.
Go Cowboys! Back to SWBC Mortgage's Dallas Cowboys Crosstalk.
Yeah, check this out.
Broadcasting live from the Cowboys Club at the Star in Frisco.
Want to use what the pros use? Jack Black is the official men's skincare brand of the Dallas Cowboys. Visit getjackblack.com today. Welcome back to the Cowboys Club at the Star in Frisco for the SWBC Cowboys Crosstalk. I'm Bobby Belt from 105 Through the Fan in Dallas. That is the radio flagship home of your Dallas Cowboys. Tonight I've got my 105 Through the Fan teammate Alec Medford here. We got the 3-time Super Bowl champ, 6-time Pro Bowler Nate Newton is here as well. And tonight our Cowboys alumni is Cory Procter. Cory, thanks for joining us. Really appreciate it.
So excuse me, Bobby, before you go any further. What's my guy name here?
Alec Medford.
Okay, I mean, every now and then he'll look over at me and then he'll kind of, try to.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I see
it. Yeah, I'm like.
Look, Alec's been hitting the gym. Look at Alex.
Hey, for a 24-year-old, I've got a bad back. I got to readjust every now and then. Got to readjust.
Okay.
You remember? Yeah. Last year, see, Nate probably doesn't remember. Last year, Nate kept introducing Alec as 6'5", 250 pounds.
That's the beauty of radio. Nobody knows.
He's a brick. He's a brick.
You're taller than me right now.
Yeah, man.
So the Cowboys, as they hit the halfway point here of the season, they're in the bye week now, and they're 3-5-1. They've got an opportunity with the Raiders coming up on Monday. A game, hopefully, that they can kind of get things right coming out of the bye week. They've added a couple new pieces. Logan Wilson, Quinnen Williams, who we had a great conversation with Leighton Vander Esch last week about and the impact that those guys can make right away. But I'm curious for one of the things, and we referenced it at the very beginning when we talked about the Marshawn Kneeland issue, was just the impact that Brian Schottenheimer's made on culture this year. That has been the headline, culture. It's 2 C's that he's used all year, culture and competition. That's what he wants to really drive home. Talk about, just from your perspective, Cory, the culture that existed for a guy like Bill Parcells when you were here. You already talked about, it was on time, it was regimented, it was strong. And then maybe how the culture that existed for Wade Phillips, which was maybe a little more freeing and kind of free things, and just the different styles that can exist and how you think that impacts a team in terms of as they're on the course to trying to win ball games.
Man, that's huge. Culture is everything. So, like, if you don't have the right culture, you're going to lose. And so now there's happy balances, though. So, like, Bill Parcells, what I loved about him, I'm very much like I vibe with Bill Parcells, right? Like, black and white, you knew where you stood. It was really uncomfortable to talk to him all the time, especially one-on-one. But, like, you knew where you were at with him. And if you could withstand his heat, then he liked you. And so, but what I liked about him is he had a certain standard of a guy that he brought in the locker room. So, like, you had to have been a good worker. You had to be on time for your stuff. You can't be unreliable, right? You had to be that kind of guy first. And then he required you to lift, be part of off-season, and to lift. I think it was a minimum of 3 days a week during the season. So he actually had requirements for us to be there at certain times. And I love Wade. What I think the counter with Wade has to be is when you have a guy like Wade who is relaxed. I was a guy who could handle that.
And I wouldn't be.
No.
Right, and I wouldn't be. I'm being honest.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
wouldn't be.
Sure.
Right on.
Well, so, like, there's guys that need a Bill.
That's
guys
right.
that need a Wade. Right, and so if you have a Wade, and I had Steve Mariucci when I was on practice squad in Detroit, in that similar category.
Yeah.
He's a veteran guy who wants to take care of you. Make sure your body's good to go for Sunday. They need you for Sunday, not for Wednesday, Thursday practice, right? But if you don't have coaches policing underneath that relax or that go-getter coach, it can get away from you like we saw it with Wade later, right? And so what culture ends up being everything. We got to have some police, whether it's a veteran guy policing the other players or it's a assistant coach doing that if we have a more lax coach. But culture ends up being everything, because if you got guys that are showing up late or got guys that aren't putting all the work in, maybe on the side gives like weight room or even in practice where it gets a little lazy in practice and we're just kind of bumping up or we're not really going hard on anything. I need either a coach or I need a teammate player to be like, to tell me what's wrong and to call me out on what's wrong. And so if you don't have that kind of culture where you actually have true policing going on, then we're going to let the team get away. And that's where like you have guys that aren't living up to their potential, right? And that's where, like, I always use Alex Smith as an example why coaching is so important. That guy, how many coaches did he go through in San Fran before?
Right.
Like 4 different coaches, and everybody thought he was a first-round bust out of Cal, right?
Yeah.
Till he got with Jim Harbaugh, came to San Fran, who's a true quarterbacks coach. Then he went to Kansas City with Andy Reid, a true quarterbacks coach, completely changed his career. So that pairing is huge for players, but it also is big for the locker room, because if I don't have the right culture, man, we're going downhill fast. And there's got to be a good level of grace and accountability marrying each other. That would, because like, you know, the grace in that, if you have real problems going on in your life that's affecting your play, I got to have enough grace to speak to that, right? But at the same time, we got a job to get done, and we got to get it done. So I need guys that are going to hold me accountable to that job. So that culture is a massive thing.
I'd love both of your takes on this, being former offensive linemen. One of those changes that Brian Schottenheimer made, bringing in offensive coordinator Clayton Adams, who his time in Arizona, he was really praised for his work with the offensive linemen specifically and generating a run game with a group of guys that a lot of people didn't know who they were. He comes to Dallas, and early on the returns have been great. How important is it to have a guy that is working one-on-one with your position group, but he's also the guy drawing up the concepts and helping make the play calls on Sundays and whenever they play? Because I think that's been a big part of it, that the offensive coordinator knows, I know your strengths, I know each individual person, I know what you can do and what you can't do. How important do you think that is, or how much of a luxury do you think that is?
I mean, it is a luxury, but I tell you, it's important because like Nate's time, and you tell me if you're off, I was always a big why guy, which rubs people the wrong way.
Yes, it does, man.
But like older days, you know, which I still have a part of this in me where you tell me to do something, I just go do it, right? Now, we have way more of a generation now of players today where it's like, okay, why? Why would I do that? We're like, so many people take that as combative. It's not combative. Like, anybody gets offended,
a logical reason.
Yeah, stop it. Just answer the question.
Right.
And I had coaches get upset at me for asking that. But the purpose is, if you do have a guy that just doesn't know the interior 5 or 6 positions, but he knows the schematics, like truly, why are we walking this thing out? And he can explain that. He's good at sharing that. That's going to go so much farther for a player that does ask that. Like, oh, okay, you know, I get that, makes sense. And you take the coaching honestly, and then we can go and apply it. So that, I'm like, listen, there's bad coaches in the NFL too. All right, I'm like, being gone so long, you see where guys are at now. I'm like, I love seeing guys succeed, but you're also like, that guy, really? You know, which I know you can speak to. But so when you're talking, like, even if you're an armchair quarterback, right, and you watch him from the sideline, yeah, there's that. Yeah, there's some of those guys that get in. But to get those guys that truly know the scheme and they can be a good coach at the same time is so huge for especially this generation, I think.
It's so rare.
Guys. Yeah.
So rare. The thing that bothers me is, and maybe when you played, my brother, it was different. We did not have the injuries. We all got, my offensive line, we played together like 4 years straight before we had a guy miss more than 2 games. And now you cannot, this offensive line cannot grow because they will not stay healthy, and I don't have a reason for it. I just don't.
I've got a question for both y'all, and we can take our final break here, and we can answer this when we come back, so I'll just set it up for you. I'm curious for you guys, because we've heard this feedback occasionally from some players. The idea of the way that the CBA is and the way that certain things have been negotiated, that some guys believe the lack of the physical practice and stuff don't properly prepare your body for what you're going to take in on Sunday, and that may be some of the reason why you see an increase in injuries. I just want to get y'all's perspective on that, if you feel like that's a legitimate argument or if there may be something else. We'll talk about that when we come back here on the SWBC Cowboys Crosstalk.
Back to SWBC Mortgage's Dallas Cowboys Crosstalk.
Yeah, check this out.
Broadcasting live from the Cowboys Club at the Star in Frisco.
At SWBC, customized solutions for individuals and businesses are just a click away. Visit SWBC.com to learn more and start your next adventure. Welcome back to the Cowboys Club at the Star in Frisco for the SWBC Cowboys Crosstalk. We're coming to you live on the Dallas Cowboys Radio Network, DallasCowboys.com, and all other associated social media platforms. I'm Bobby Belt from 105.3 The Fan in Dallas. That is the radio flagship home of your Dallas Cowboys. Tonight I've got my 105.3 The Fan teammate Alec Medford here with me, all 6'5", 250 pounds of him. According to Nate Newton, the three-time Super Bowl champ and six-time Pro Bowler that's with us, and future Ring of Honor member, no doubt. And our Cowboys alumni this evening is former Cowboys offensive lineman Cory Procter.
Thank you, Cory.
So I asked you guys as we were heading to the break, the idea that has been suggested, I've heard by some guys out there, usually veterans, longer-term players who believe that some of the increase we're seeing in guys who are having a rash of injuries, like you were just talking about, Nate, is they believe that some of the practices scheduled, some of the way the practices are scheduled and what you're allowed to do during the season doesn't necessarily prepare your body the right way. Now, I know there's an alternate line of thinking out there as well, one that Mike McCarthy usually used to subscribe to, which is and it's something I think you just referenced with Steve Mariucci, I'm trying to protect your body.
Yeah.
I'm trying to keep your body fresh so that you can sustain a whole season and you're not getting beat up. Where do you guys fall down on that idea of what do you think is something that's more helpful to prepare a player?
This started with Steve Walsh. This started with Coach Walsh.
Bill Walsh?
Bill Walsh.
Yeah, I was going to say Steve Walsh was the quarterback.
Yeah. Bless his heart. Bless his heart. Yeah. But that started with the 49ers. That started with the 49ers. But I was a part of one of their guys, Coach Seifert. The tempo was so high, though. The tempo of practice was so high. They took off the pads quicker than anybody. They've always been that way. And a lot of their people come down that tree. But their tempo was so high. When they ask you to do inside run, you put on your pads, you go wide open, you take those pads off, and everybody almost to the point where you're like, whoa, these people going to hurt themselves. They were so wide open, and they practiced a little bit longer than the guys like with Jimmy. We were going an hour and 45.
Yeah.
We were going to be padded all the way through. I don't have a problem with how they do it now. I really don't, because all 32 teams have to do it that way. So, but it's the speed in which you do it, and it's what you do during the offseason. Remember, Jimmy came up under the Bill Parcells. Even though he did not come up under Parcells' tree, he always called Parcells.
Right.
When hey, how do I do this? How do I do that? Because Parcells is so regimented. And that is what I subscribe to. It's how you practice, the speed in which you practice, and will you do it all here up under the strength coach? That's just what I believe.
Same thing. So what I would love to see in the league is we have a return back to, there's a conditioning that takes place of your body when you're in the pads hitting all week long. And so, yes, you lighten the load as you get closer to the game, right? And you can do that. There's lots of ways you can do that. But, like, I love the systematic approach that Bill brought to it. But you got to have the hitting to a degree. And so the problem is when you take off the pads, naturally people lighten up, right? And so, like, now we're not hitting really anymore. Bill Parcells, even if we were out of pads, I remember having to do rookie minicamp with the guy. And I remember Pat McQuiston, when he got drafted, he was like, hey, what's the tempo on this? I'm like, this is full go.
Right.
This is don't play like we're in pads. And so what we're hitting in that sense. But, like, there's a conditioning of your body and joints that take place from that hitting that needs to be there. But they're doing it so guys don't get hurt right now. But where I think the offset that would really help is if we have a return back to true off-season. Like true off-season, meaning we don't need OTAs. Maybe you have a little bit, but like even in high school we had 2 weeks of spring ball. Even in college, 2 weeks of spring ball, right? You don't need 2 full months of OTAs to do this. We need to get back to the weight room, lift weights. Our technology is so much better now with off-season training than it ever was in history. Take advantage of that technology, get big, strong, in shape during the summer, all right? And we have minimal attack on your body in the summer for football. And I'll tell you, like, this is why, if you guys remember, there was a study done at Alabama on your probability of getting a scholarship playing football for Nick Saban. And if you were a multi-sport athlete, you were 4 times more probable to get a scholarship at Nick Saban with Alabama than you were if you were a single-sport athlete. Well, okay, yes, we specialize in football. I was in way better shape going into training camp if I played racquetball all summer long in the facility. You remember we had the racquetball courts?
Yes.
Coaches used to play, players. We used to get these big tournaments going all the time. All we did was lift weights, run, and play racquetball.
Get your back beat up.
Oh, man. It was the best because we had a bunch of trash talk.
Right.
It was still athletic. It was still fun, and we're still getting the conditioning and workout that we needed. And then when we hit the field, I was in the best shape of my life. Nobody could keep up with me. And so, but that's what I'd like to see is we got to have the hitting in season, have a true off season where we're getting a break away from that. And so then we turn into this multi-sport. It's a total body transformation where now I'm going to become a better athlete, ultimately a better football player.
Conversely, do you think there's any benefit to the guys being in the meeting rooms more, maybe watching some of that tape and learning some of the concepts? Do you think there is something to be gained from that, or do you think that it's removing itself a little bit from what you guys are saying, the physicality and everything? You can't replicate that.
You can't, man. I mean, like the off season, and I'm going to give a guy shout out, Duke Manyweather here in town, right? He runs the O-line summit every year,
dude.
right?
Yeah.
And I'm like, this is something I wish I did better when I was playing. After playing, I became insatiable for my work. Well, I want guys to be insatiable for their work in football. So what? I mean, I want to talk to a Nate Newton. I want to talk to a guy that's made Pro Bowl now. I want to talk to guys not just from old times, from new times. And so I want a chance to get better at my craft that's away from my legs getting beat up, right? And so I think that's off-season time where you can take a ton of time in film and get that meeting room time where now we're learning new things, trying new things potentially that we can take into training camp and try. And so, okay, we still have, we still have to apply what coach wants us to do, which is different for a lot of coaches. But I think we have a great opportunity to just get some true off-season time where we can make a better player overall.
Here in just the last 90 seconds really quickly, Cory, we appreciate you joining us tonight. Just reset for everybody here in the last little bit what it is you're doing now, where people can find out more about what you got going on.
Yeah, no, I own a wealth management firm called Pro Capital Wealth Management. You can find it at procapitaltx.com. Come follow me on social media, right? I love talking with people there. I'm pretty active and share about my work and my family and my faith. I'm pretty convicted in the stuff that I do. So if you follow me, try not to get offended, okay?
For what's real in life.
Seriously.
There you go, Nate.
I'm backing the spiritual thing, bro, always. Yeah. Not the spirits that they drank, but I'm talking about the spirits that you're born with, okay?
For real.
There you go. All right, so they can keep up with Cory Procter there. And a reminder, we talked about it, if you want to check out the fund that has been set up for Marshawn Kneeland's girlfriend Catalina and his unborn child that'll be due here in the future, you can go to MarshawnKneelandFund.org. That is something the Cowboys have set up to be able to help support them through a very tragic time. For Alec Medford, Nate Newton, Big Al, Cory Procter, thank you so much for joining us tonight.
Hey, thanks, guys.
And we will be back again next Wednesday on the SWBC Cowboys Crosstalk.
Look.